Welcome to another episode of The Voice of Viet Vegas. This is a special edition of Meet the Candidate. Due to COVID-19, our show is being taped using virtual meetings software. Today, I have the pleasure to have attorney Lynn Hughes on our show. Attorney Lynn Hughes is a former pro tem for Clark County. He is also a Clark County Guardianship Commissioner, a former pro tem for dependency, a former Clark County small claim referees, an active Eagle Scout in Boy Scout of America. Today, he speaks and appears on this show as a candidate for Las Vegas Family Court Judge, Dept M. Please welcome Attorney Lynn Hughes.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you letting me come on and meet with you and speak with you. My name is Lynn Hughes, and I have been an attorney here in Las Vegas for 23 years, practicing in the areas of family law and probate and guardianship. That's where I've spent my time as an attorney and serving in that area, that community. I grew up in this town. We moved here when I was very young, so I've been going to school from grade school on up through UNLV. I spent all my time here in Las Vegas doing my education and learning. I had to go away to law school because they didn't have this law school here at the time. Matter of fact, they started it the year I got back, 1997. And so I missed that part, but otherwise I've been here and going to school and learning and serving here in the Las Vegas area. I do have, I thank you for the recitation of my experience that you have put there. I have been, like I say, an attorney for 23 years. For 18 of those years, I have served as a judge in some capacity here in Las Vegas, serving started out as a small claims court referee and in traffic court. So some of you might recognize my face from coming in and appearing and having me issue a fine or something else. But I have also served as a hearing master in the family court, in the guardianship court, in the abuse and neglect or CPS court, also in the mental health or civil commitment court. Individuals who just need help in getting through life and having their rights protected. I have been in those seats sitting as a judge for 18 years, and I've really enjoyed the practice and the opportunity to serve in that way. I kind of see myself more as an arbiter, or looking at both sides of the issue and then trying to reach a fair decision. I like that more than being an advocate for somebody, but I do that as well. As an attorney, I do a lot of my practice in advocating for individuals and their rights. So I hope I've covered the bases.
Sure. Well, reading through your bios and as a very, look to me that you are very successful attorneys and having a lot of experience. What made you decide to run for judgeship?
Well, having the experience in serving as a judge, even just part-time or as a substitute, I have really found that to be a fulfilling experience. I really enjoyed that. In some of those courtrooms, I have felt like a superhero where a family or a child has been harmed, such as the CPS court, where a parent is just not in a position to be able to act as a parent safely, and the children have to be protected. I have felt like a superhero, being able to do what I can to help those kids be safe and have that family have the opportunity to get themselves fixed and back together. That is just a great feeling. It's a great feeling to be able to serve and save those families as best as you can. Sometimes that's not an option. Sometimes the family is not fixable, whether it be a divorce court or CPS court or even just guardianship. Sometimes those things, harms happen. And I like to be able to provide the assistance to get those things fixed and make sure that the children are protected. I've just really enjoyed that. And that's, to me, it's the next step in my legal service. I would like to be able to be that superhero full time.
Right, right. Well, I moved to Las Vegas since 2002, and since then I haven't met quite a lot of people who actually born here. But you practically, as a Las Vegas native, as I see it, because your family moved to Vegas since you were a child, went to school here, went to undergraduate at UNLV, as you mentioned earlier, then left for your law school in Indianapolis. You returned back and practiced here for the next 23 years. So have you seen much change in our court system here in Nevada?
Quite a bit. I've seen the city change in many, many ways. When we moved here, Rainbow was the western edge of the whole city. There was a couple of little housing complexes out beyond that, but that was as far in as we get. Now we're all the way out to the mountain. On the west side, and the east side is the same way. This town has just ballooned with people moving here. I think for 20 years we were the fastest growing community in the nation because everybody wanted to live in Las Vegas. That same growth has caused obviously a lot of growing pains in the court system, in just the number of people who need services here. And I have watched the court try to grow and deal with those same problems and situations. When I started my practice, there was not a family court division. All the judges covered everything. But we got to be so big, and the judges were handling so many family court issues that they then started the family court on, the family court itself is located at Pecos and Bonanza.
Right.
That building had, I can't remember, about 14 courtrooms in it initially, and we're well beyond that already. We're now going to have a total of 26 family court judges elected at this election. And so we are bursting at the seams to try and find places for all the courtrooms and all the work that's going to be done. And just the sheer volume of work that a town this size has to deal with. I think Las Vegas is playing catch up to try and make sure that everybody gets the service that they need. People actually get divorces done. People actually get their cases moved forward. And so I've just watched the town grow and the family court grow in order to meet those needs.
Right. According to the National Center for State Courts, Nevada system for judicial records was ranked near the bottom in the country back in 1999, I believe, and is now ranked number 6 from the top in ranking. So do you think we still have room to improve?
I do think we always have room to improve. I have been named as a member of the Nevada Permanent Guardianship Commission. Guardianship is an area that I practice in a lot. About 5 years ago, there was a terrible guardianship court mess that started here in Clark County and kind of bloomed out across the nation, where they found individuals who were not acting properly. People who would get guardianships and then cheat the people they were taking care of. Nevada had addressed that system with a temporary guardianship commission, which quickly addressed the really big problems, and then established also a permanent guardianship commission, which is the committee that I'm on. And they come up with new rules and new procedures to help ensure that individuals who need that assistance are not cheated, are not abused or taken advantage of. And so that's just the guardianship area. Child support has just been revamped in order to make it a more fair system, to make sure that parents are actually taking care of the kids and not finding a way around those loopholes, or not using the loopholes improperly. We always are working on some area of law in order to make it better, more reactive, and handle better situations. So I don't think Nevada is ever going to stop doing its little improvements. We're always doing what we can to make sure that the system works better for the community.
Right. For the past 25 years, the state has operated under coordinated family court model, which means it is tried to deal with the family legal issue using the same judge and by connecting them to social services, so that opposed to having one judge deal with a family divorce case and another judge may address that family custody issue. So which model that you think it will work better?
I do like Clark County's one judge, one family rule. I think it helps to have one judge who understands the entire problems that the family faces, whether they are facing juvenile court problems or the CPS court problems or just divorce, whether it be a veteran or somebody with a gambling problem. All of those factors really should be in one position where one judge can do their best to make sure that all of the factors are dealt with. It's not always possible, but this system has done a great job of trying to make sure that all of the family needs are met and handled in one place as best as possible.
Right. As you mentioned earlier that our family court system here is overcrowded. Actually, that the volume that we have here is comparable to the largest city in the country. Probably, I would say like New York, and New York is very crowded family court. But they even have less volume than here in Clark County. So with that workload, how would you run your court to ease the workload for the court?
Well, the first thing is that a judge has to be prepared immediately to be able to start working and understanding the cases. And the biggest goal is to get the case moving forward toward the resolution. Nevada, or Clark County, is doing a good thing this time by adding 6 new courts to the system and taking some of that caseload off the existing judges so that they reduce that caseload burden a little bit for each judge. But the judges themselves have to be able to move the case forward, be able to issue a decision fairly and quickly. And that way, it's not sitting on the books, it's not sitting there waiting for something to happen. Really, it's a matter of, one, for the judge to do most of the work to make sure that that case is actually moving forward, setting deadlines, keeping the people moving so that a decision can be reached. You know, family law is brutal. I mean, it really is. Most people come to family court with their lives already torn apart, and the judge is overseeing the destruction of those families. You know, he's trying to do his best to make sure the kids are safe and that everybody is treated fairly and that the property is divided. But it's not a fun place to be. I highly recommend that nobody come to family court if you can avoid it.
Sure.
But getting that final decision is the breaking point where they can start over. They can fix life moving forward. They have a new normal to deal with, whether it be custody and visitation, or they have back to being single and they can separate their property. And we're not in the battle anymore. We're not in the fight. And they can begin to heal and move past it. So I really think moving to that final decision is how the courts can really serve the people of this community best.
Next question that I have is, I don't know if it's going to be practical or not, but hearing master are appointed officials who hold hearings on certain kind of family law proceedings and supplement the work for elected judge. The challenge is to ensure that hearing master receive consistent training and stay current on best practice. With our current budget shortage due to COVID-19, I believe that this current proposed budget gonna cut very deep. I believe it is like $2 million, and that would affect the trainings of those hearing master. How would you operate your court with less help from the hearing master officials?
It will be interesting. I think the judges are going to have to step up and provide some training to the hearing masters, especially in those areas that specialize in child support or even the abuse neglect areas, something to assist them in their training and maintaining that. that's going to require also the state to allow exceptions or ability to help alleviate some of those costs, whether it be for training or the continuing education that judges and hearing masters need. But a judge is also going to have to be able to quickly rule on things such as restraining orders or other things that are part of the divorce case that the judges will be handling. Those are specialized areas that really do help keep the judge free to be able to handle a better calendar of the bigger items. If a hearing master can specialize in those things and get them handled, that will alleviate some of the pressure on the judge itself.
We touched a little bit about the overcrowded courtroom here in Nevada. The number of cases in Clark County compared to the numbers of judicial officers who hear families and juvenile filing was, I believe it last year was close to 49,000 cases to 30 judicial officers. So that ratio was pretty high comparing to large city, as I mentioned, probably in New York or maybe in LA, where there were, probably less than 40,000 with 55 judicial officers. So you do a workload of double workload. So how would you run your courtroom to maximize the efficiencies to cope with the overload cases?
Yeah, that's going to be an experience to make sure that each case is given the time and attention that they deserve. And really, it's going to be up to the judge to be prepared for those particular hearings. Obviously, with the sheer number of cases that will come before the court, the amount of time provided to each one is probably going to be minimized a little bit. And therefore, a judge, having read the pleadings before the case and having an understanding of the law applied to each particular set of facts, will help to reduce the amount of time that the participants and the attorneys spend in the courtroom. And if I can minimize that, just 5 minutes per case, that will help to move those things forward, and I can hopefully get more decisions made per day. It's going to require work for the judge and his staff, and to be that kind of prepared, to be able to read and understand all of the briefs that are going to be submitted. But if we get into court and we have read it and we understand what each position is from each side, then we can shorten the amount of time because the judge has heard what they want to say. Now we just have, is there anything new? Is there new information that the judge doesn't have from the pleadings? And we should be able to reduce the amount of time that is spent in court listening to the arguments because the judge has heard what they had to say before they came in. So really it's a time management question for the sheer volume of cases that are going to be held by each judge here in Clark County.
So in other words, if I'm hearing correctly, that you got to do your homework before you come to the bench, right?
Exactly, and it'll be up to the staff and the judge to have that prepared. Right. So,
but some judge though, I mean, they don't do any homework before they arrive to the bench. They actually reading the case while they are in there, so that would take a lot of time, and some cases would take forever to finishing up, a case that probably would take maybe 1/5 of the time or maybe half of the time. So preparations is probably the key to run the court more efficiently. Yeah. My next question is to do with your experience though. You have been a pro tem judge in Clark County for 18 years. You were appointed to the Permanent Guardianship Commissions by the Nevada Supreme Court, combined with your experience in practicing law for 23 years. Could you tell us, the audience, how you use the experience on the bench?
Having that experience representing individuals in all walks of life, whether they be wealthy and have a lot to divide, whether retirement accounts, businesses, or whether they're lower income individuals who are just trying to get through life and survive. I have the experience of dealing with all of it. military members. This is a big military town with Nellis Air Force Base.
Mhm.
And I have dealt with individuals who have to deal with custody arrangements where somebody might be deployed overseas for a while. All of those experiences in representing an individual in the court will be the foundation for understanding the cases that come next. They're going to be strikingly similar to the 23 years of experience that I've gained now. I'm not a new attorney. I have the experience in dealing with retirement accounts, in dealing with all the special situations that children have, whether they be autistic or have special needs or other things that need to be addressed in an actual courtroom in a divorce situation or a custody situation. Having that experience will help me
Help a lot.
direct the families to get things solved, I hope, because a family in family court is always, you always feel better having chosen your own result than having the judge impose a decision on you. So I do like a settlement and having the people work together. Family court is not known for having the participants work together. In a divorce, usually there's a lot of emotion and they don't work together very well. And that's when a judge has to get that kind of thing calmed down and make a proper decision. But a family is those individuals who are fighting, whether it be over a divorce item or just children or the family dog. When they're fighting, if we can get them to reach an agreement, they will come out of it much better than if they have the judge issue a decision. So
having said that, my next question is, with the complexity of our society today, the family court will have to deal with domestic violence, with individuals who have been abused, mental health issues, large assets issue, small assets issue, so on and so forth. How would a family judge be able to maintain his or her sanity to preside in those complex cases?
well, I tell you, family court and family law is not an easy practice. Civil law, you can walk away from, it's just money. But in family court, everybody's emotion is really on the surface. It's raw, it's right there, and it's difficult to deal with. When my client first hires me, it's because they either want a divorce or the other side is sued for divorce. And the emotion is just there. It's raw, it hurts to do a divorce or to fight over children. And I can be the best attorney in the world, but at the end of the day, I am assisting in the ruination of somebody's family. And that usually is not a great thing. So, I don't have a lot of long-lasting friends from clients because I've helped them destroy their families. I have a lot of friends, a lot of clients who like me, but we're not best buddies because of just the general situation of family court. So for me, I have to have something outside of family court that I can release. Basically when I get done with work, I'm done with work. I then have to do something else. I have to work on a car or do some woodworking or play some music or do something else so that I don't have that emotional turmoil anywhere else. I keep that at work and then I have a free life outside of that. That's the way I keep my sanity.
That's great. And then some people don't have a hobby, which, very, very dangerous. Right. Well, before we end the session today, please take a moment to tell the audience why they should vote for you.
Thank you. Well, I think we've talked about my experience. I have that. My opponent and I are very similar. We've both been practicing for a very long time in family court, and we have the experience, I believe, necessary to run a courtroom on day one. I believe I am the best choice. I have the experience as an attorney to handle cases that will come up. I have the experience as a judge in running a courtroom in all different sites, all different ways that family court will throw at me. I can handle the courtroom. I can handle litigants that come in. I am also a very peaceable, nice guy. I tend not to get angry at the people as they come into the courtroom. I believe I will treat everybody fairly, no matter who comes into the courtroom. They will get the opportunity to provide their side of the story. I will listen, and I will issue what I believe is a fair decision to each individual. I'm not going to make everybody happy. You can't in family court. Somebody is going to come out, they feel, on the losing end. And more often than not, both parties feel they come out on the losing end. I am not there to be friendly. I'm not there to be their friend. I am there to issue a fair decision and treat everybody with respect and treat them equally. I believe I am the best choice for Family Court Department M, and I ask you to choose Lynn Hughes for Family Court.
Right. Well, I actually have one more question that I
Yes, sir.
thought that I should ask. You working with a few law firms in town, and your current law firms believe it will be still existing when you get elected as a judge. When you're sitting on the bench and having a case in front of you that represented by one of your partners in the firms, how would you run that case with partially, or would you recuse yourself out of the case?
My current firm is the family law firm of Robert Stoffel. I work there and I enjoy it very much. I would recuse myself from anybody in this particular firm because I am close to them. I would not want to even have the appearance that I am treating them, I'm giving them favoritism. I would not want to even have that. My old firms that I have been away from for a few years, I do not believe I would recuse, although I believe I should let anybody know that I used to work at a particular law firm. If that case were to come before me as a judge, and one of my old firms is Hutchison and Steffen, and I would just, if that firm came before me, I would say, I used to work at that firm 5 years ago or 10 years ago, however long it is. And if they believe there's a conflict, we can discuss it at that time, and I don't mind recusing myself in a situation like that. I'd much rather that the participants in the case feel they've been treated fairly than to hold on to a case just because. So I believe everybody should be treated fairly in a courtroom.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Hughes, for taking the time to be here with us today. I wish you luck with your campaign and these elections. To the audience, thank you so much for watching this program, and I urge you to learn more about Attorney Lynn Hughes' candidacy by visiting his Facebook and his website, which is listed on the screen. Have a pleasant day, and I will see you again in our next episode of The Voice of Viet Vegas. Thank you so much, and have a pleasant day.
Thank you.
Thank you.